Welcome to Obsidian TTRPG Tutorials.com. Let's learn how to use the tool. Alright, g'day guys and welcome back today to another Obsidian video. Today we're going to dive into how to keep your notes synchronized between your PC and a mobile device. Specifically, I'll be working on Android because I'm an Android boy, as you all know. And we're going to basically have a look at Obsidian Sync, which is a paid service, alright, but the price has recently came down. I'm having a look at it to see what it can do. Anyone who's watched my videos for a while will know that I personally use GitHub to sync my notes, but I don't really work on a mobile phone, if I'm honest. The idea of typing lots and lots of notes on a mobile phone makes me feel a little bit restricted, if I'm honest. So it's not something I get into, but I know there's lots of you out there that like to write notes while you're on the bus on the way to work or at work, pretending to work, all that sort of stuff. So let's jump in, let's have a look and see what it's capable of. Alright, so first thing, let's jump over to obsidian.md/sync, alright, and have a look here at what is Obsidian Sync and what does it offer. Alright, so Obsidian Sync, all your notes on all your devices. Now, Obsidian is designed as a local first application. Okay, when you install it on your PC, you're installing it on that PC. When you're installing it on your phone, you're installing it on that phone, and the files and notes that you create are all created as folders and notes on that specific device. Alright, so that's a little bit different from something like OneNote, for example, where you take your note and it's actually stored on the cloud. Alright, it's stored up on someone else's server, and once you basically, you write that note, it's sent into the interwebs, and there's a copy of it out on the interwebs, and the next time you access it from a different device, you're bringing it down from the internet, right? Like, that's what you're doing. Alright, so Obsidian have created a method for us to get around this. They call it Obsidian Sync, alright, and that's what they recommend is the way for us to sync between devices. Alright, so having a look at the website, you can see that this is not free. Alright, start syncing at $4 per month. Alright, and it's $4 per month because obviously Obsidian is free. This is one of the ways they make their money. They offer sync, they also offer publish, and there's licenses for anyone using it for business purposes. But $4 a month, like that's getting down there now. That's pretty acceptable in my mind. It has recently changed price. I think it was $8 per month previously, which my mind was too expensive. Alright, because once you start comparing tools like Google Drive and OneDrive, for example, that offer sync services, the cost was comparable to that, but with Obsidian Sync, you're only syncing your notes, where Google Drive, I'm syncing everything. So that's what kind of stopped me from jumping in previously. $4 a month, though, I feel is like, that's an acceptable cost. Alright, that's a couple of bucks, less than a coffee. Coffee's like $6.50, nearly $7 here these days, so... Alright, what does it offer? End-to-end encryption. Alright, so it's your data is automatically secured using AES 256. I have no idea what that means, and I see people questioning the end-to-end encryption in their Obsidian notes all the time. And I'm like, what are you putting in your notes, guys? Like, Jesus. What are you afraid of people seeing? That's crazy. Anyway, version history. Alright, it gives you version history, which is why I use GitHub, so I quite like that. Allows you to seamlessly cross platforms, and I think this is a big one for me. There's lots of other ways to sync your notes, alright, with Obsidian. You could put your Vault in a Google Drive, you could put it into a Dropbox, right? Like, there's all these other ways, but what I see is people having problems with those methods, and usually when we're troubleshooting a more advanced plugin issue, usually like data going missing from let's say fantasy stat blocks or initiative tracker, or maybe leaflet pins are missing, it's usually that person is usually using some sort of third-party sync method, and unfortunately those methods just like they just basically listen to files, right? When those files change, they sync those changes across, and sometimes that conflicts with each other. Alright, and then what you get is a file write conflict, and that stops syncing, and you've got to have a little bit of a technical backbone to you to keep up with some of those issues that jump in. And I saw the same thing with GitHub, if I'm honest, and I was syncing back and forth between GitHub all the time. There were write issues, right, and you've got to basically work through those. This seems to work easier from what I can tell, and they've got tools built into Obsidian Sync to handle those things. So, work offline, sync later, that's an interesting concept. I haven't played with that. And then yeah, this is what we're going to do a video on. We're going to do a video on collaboration. That's coming. We're actually doing a test at the moment on that. And if we get down here, we can see that we've got two different pricings. Okay, we have the $4 a month. All right, so that gives you one synced vault, 1 gig of storage, 5 meg maximum file size, and 1 month version history. Look, it's enough. One of the reasons I haven't used Obsidian Sync for so long, if I'm completely honest, is my vault is closer to 15 gig maybe. My maximum file size, I think I've got like one map that's 50 meg, right? Massive, massive map. So for me, this is a bit limiting. All right, so it's possible to use, but you'll see why it's $4 a month. The $8 USD a month would probably be a lot more acceptable. All right, 10 volts. I probably have 3 primary that I keep track of. 10 gig total storage, still not enough for what I do. 200 meg maximum file size. That right there is probably what I would pay the $8 a month for, if I'm honest. And 12-month version history. All right, upgradable to 100 gig storage. So I'm guessing there's another cost there that they can add on for you, and that would be acceptable. But, you know, it's worth noticing that there are restrictions and limitations with this. So it's up to you how you go. My personal thoughts on Sync, if I was going to be working from a mobile phone, is my PC would always be my primary, right? That's what I'm always going to do my primary notes on. And then sometimes when I go camping, right, I do like to have Obsidian with me so I can just write down things. You know, when I'm relaxed camping, I'm starting to think about my campaign, starting to think about the story, finally out of work mode, I have an idea, I put it in Obsidian. I usually at this point just take that home and then write it into my PC Obsidian, if I'm honest. Like, I don't write really detailed notes when I'm relaxing. But if I was going to use Obsidian Sync, I might be able to get away with the $4 method, right? Just by using it minimally, right? So I sync to my phone. I don't sync everything, but I sync enough to keep it in tune with my PC Vault. So I can jot down ideas when I'm out on the road. And then when I get home, those ideas are always already on my PC. And then I can then flesh them out further and you know, breach some of these limits that Sync won't handle. But anyway, that's my thoughts on the matter. Obviously, to kick this off, you need to go ahead and sign up. All right. So go ahead and do that. And then what I would recommend is actually coming in here and having a look at the official documentation for it. So, Introduction to Obsidian Sync. It has some details here about how to set this up, how to use it on other systems, some of the things that might catch you, the security stuff. Probably definitely worth a read, right? I'm always saying, make sure you read the documentation that comes with whatever you use, and I think this is one that you would benefit from doing that. So anyway, we've purchased it. Let's jump in and see how we use it. All right, so let's jump in. Today we're going to get a little bit fancy. I've got my mobile phone here. I've got Obsidian installed on it, and I've set it up so you can actually see it on my screen, which is pretty cool because now I can do videos on mobile phone usage. We can see that on the left hand side, and on the right hand side you can see the PC version running of Obsidian. Now the PC version is my primary, right? That's where it's easier to work, you've got more screen space. So I'm going to start here. We're going to go down to the settings cog, going to come here to core plugins, come down to sync, and we're going to turn this option on. All right, we then get the settings options button, so the cog, and we can see here remote vault choose. All right, now keeping in mind, I've only got the $4 a month option, so I get 1 volt. If you pay the $8 or $10 a month option, you get, I think, 10 volts. So you might get a list here to pick if you've got the more volts available. I don't have a vault yet, so I'm going to go create new vault. And I'm going to call it Obsidian TTRPG Vault. This is my Patreon vault that we're going to be playing with today. And I'm going to stick it on the Oceania server. All right. Now I've got an option here to customize end-to-end encryption. I'm going to turn that off. So let's just explain these settings. The region, I'm picking the server that's closest to me so that it takes less time for my notes to download. End-to-end encryption on my notes. Now there's going to be end-to-end encryption anyway, but either a automatic key can be generated or I can generate my own. I'm just going to let it generate it itself. All right, I don't want to have to manage that. I'm not storing any details in my vault that are sensitive, right? There's no military secrets that are shared in my vault, right? I'm not afraid of anyone finding my notes. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to click create. that creates the remote vault. Okay, so we're now done. Now, we're in my vault behind us, all right, so we've got the Obsidian TTRPG vault. We're also got a remote vault created. We're now going to connect to the remote vault, all right, and we're going to confirm the merge, all right. So once we start going, basically, we're going to start syncing, and it's going to start synchronizing all of the notes in my current vault to the Obsidian Sync cloud version. Now, here, we've got some options. If we come down here to Activity Log and click View, we can actually see all of these notes are currently synchronizing. All right, what's happening is it's basically taking a copy from my local vault, saving a copy to my sync vault. All right, that's what's happening here. It's going to take a couple of minutes, depending on the size of your vault here, obviously, for all of this to upload. So let's just click Done. We'll come back to here. Let's just go through while we're here and have a look at the settings. All right, so we've got remote vault. We can disconnect. That's fine. We've got sync status. We can actually pause the syncing ability. All right, so let's say you were going away camping for a weekend. You're not going to have internet access, or maybe you've only got mobile access and you don't want to synchronize while you're away. You're only going to be working on one device. You can actually pause the synchronize because it's not necessary. The device name is the computer name that I'm on now. All right, no concerns there. Now, deleted files, this will actually give you a list of all the files that have been deleted from your vault. And depending on the plan you're on, you either get, I think, 1 month or a 12-month period of history there. All right, and you can actually restore your notes from here if you've deleted them as well. The activity log, obviously, is where we're going to come in here and see all the files that are uploading. And we can actually come in here and have a look specifically at different types of logs. Right, you can see I've got some errors. My internet cut out earlier. That's what happened there. If I go to all, I can see all of the data that's been happening. And you can see this is now fully synced. We're ready. Down here we can see how much of my 1 gig that I'm using. All right, you can see I'm not even close. I can contact support through here. All right, and there's a debug info button for them. But I think most importantly down here is this section here where we see selective sync. This actually lets us pick the type of files that we want to include in our sync. All right, and you can see here that I've got most things turned on. We've got images, audio, videos, PDFs, and all other types. All right, I'm going to go and turn on all of that. All right, and you notice when I turn that on, it says, please update this option and restart app on all the devices where you want it to take effect. Okay, so if we're going to turn this on or turn it off, we have to do that, and then come back out of here, come to settings. Actually not settings, sorry, we'll come here to the command palette, and I just like to type reload. Alright, that's going to reload the app. It's going to basically then kick those settings into gear. And I imagine if we then come back to sync, yeah, we might see some more changes coming through, but no other files. It's a very small vault. Alright, so I've turned on everything. Right, I'm basically saying I want everything to sync. There's also a folder here for exclude folders. All right, so you can click manage, and you can come in here and actually say, oh, you know what, like I don't want my mechanics folder to be synchronized, so I'm going to exclude that folder from the synchronization process. Now that might actually be quite handy, right? Because when I think about my mobile phone, it's got limited space, right? It doesn't have endless space, and I can't add hard drives to it. So I might actually make a decision to limit parts of my vault. All right, so I'm only actually synchronizing certain folders and files. And the reason why I might do that is because I don't actually use my mobile phone for Obsidian that much. Like I don't plan my DM stuff on it, right? When I'm planning, I'm usually at my PC, okay, because I've got more screen space to work on, and I'm usually working on multiple screens, copying data in, reading on one screen and typing on the other, for example. Mobile phone is just really small, and I find it really annoying to use. Where I do use my mobile phone is like I'm out. Maybe let's say I'm camping with a family, right? And I'm sitting down and I'm thinking about my campaign and looking forward to the next game. And like, oh, I have an idea. I could throw it into my phone, and then using Obsidian Sync, if I had just maybe 1 or 2 folders synced, right? I could actually add a note to that folder. It will synchronize back to my PC. So that's how I might use excluded folders, all right? Because I might decide to actually go exclude 90% of my vault and just sync 1 folder maybe, who knows. All right, vault configuration sync. All right, so this is your notes. All right, this is your content. down here is your configuration. Okay, so settings, version history. All right, you can actually click view to see if anything's changed here. But here we go. Do you want to sync your main settings? Appearance settings, themes and snippets, hotkeys, your core plugin list, your core plugin settings, your active community plugin list, and your installed community plugins. Now, most of this is going to be turned off most likely. I've decided I want to synchronize all of this. All right, I want the same experience on my other devices, is what I'm saying. You might want to use a different theme on your other computer, and you might decide to not synchronize the theme, for example. So that's something you could do. But this is my primary. I'm going to send everything up. All right, so I've turned everything on. All right, that way if someone else synchronizes to my Vault, they get the same settings. If I synchronize to my Vault, I get my same settings. All right, so that's the settings. We can see that through the activity log, we're fully synced. Everything is done. We're good to go. All right, now let's jump over and let's have a look at how to set the mobile phone up. All right, so I'm on my mobile phone that way. All right, I've got Obsidian installed. I've opened up Obsidian as an app. I'm running out of battery power, but we're going to go through and we're going to now set up Obsidian Sync on this. Now I'm in the Vault selection screen. All right, you can see that I've got a schemes and plans Vault here that I've previously used to actually create notes while I'm camping. But we're going to set up Obsidian Sync, so we'll click that. It loads. It says create a synced Vault on this device. Do I want to do that? Yes, I'm going to click connect. I give it a name. Alright, so Obsidian TTRPG Vault, I'm going to use the same name and I pick the location where I want this to go. So I'm going to go choose, I'm going to pick a folder here, I'm just in my documents, Obsidian Vaults, and I'm going to use this folder. So it'll create my Vault in this folder. Alright, so it's got the location, I just click create. Alright, there we go. Now, I've got a screen here that says, oh, we're connected. You are now connected to Obsidian TTRPG Vault. Manage excluded folders. I could use this now, right? So let's say that I don't want to bring in my 3- mechanics. Has it got a capital? It does. You can tell I don't use my phone very often. Oh, there we go. Can we get rid of that one? We'll get rid of that one. There we go. So I've added my 3- mechanics folder. I'm not going to synchronize that. I don't need it. All right. I'm going to click done. And now we're going to go start syncing. Go. Now what do I do? All right. So now we're in the sync settings by the looks of it. All right. You can see here we've got the same settings that we saw before. I do want images. I do want PDFs. I do want other file types. I don't use audio or video, so I'm going to leave that turned off. Now we're going to go, all right, main settings, yes. Appearance settings, yes. Themes, yes. Hotkeys, core plugins, and I'm going to bring all of that in there. Yep, okay. So I've turned on the things that I want. All right, we're going to have a look at the sync activity, and we can see it's coming down at the same time. All right, we'll get out of there. Alright, we'll actually click open on we're actually in the Vault now, so we'll click the side icon to actually open up the side panel. Alright, we can see up the top left we've got 130 files. Alright, and I reckon that might be done. Now, notice that it did not bring my 3- mechanics folder in there. Alright, that's because I set it as that exclude folder, so that is something you can definitely do. But we now have sync set up between the mobile phone and the PC. Okay, so let's go through and test to see if this actually works. Alright, we're going to go ahead and test this now and show you how Obsidian Sync works. But first I just wanted to share with you a learning that I've just gone through. I noticed that when I was synchronizing my Vault from my PC to my mobile that my maps broke. Obviously I use Obsidian Leaflet to control my maps. And I found that I came into my notes on both sides, on both machines, and they'd actually broken. With a little bit of investigation, I was able to determine that the reason why they weren't working anymore was because the name of the image that I was using had changed. You can see that I've got a map-regional map of Lempotoyo, in a PNG format. And when I went into my assets, I found the file, but it had been renamed and had been converted to a different format. Now, I do that on purpose. I have a plugin that I would usually use on my vaults that I do not sync. Here under Community Plugins, I go down to Image Converter, and I use the Image Converter here on my primary vaults. And I do that because PNGs are large files. I have a lot of images in my vault, so therefore I have a lot of large files, and the Image Converter plugin is fantastic for converting those files to a WebP format, which is smaller, doesn't have a lot of loss in data and image quality for the purposes that I'm using it, and it's a great way to keep down the size of my vault. But the problem with that is when an image gets added to the vault, the plugin picks that up and renames and converts that file. All right, so renames and converts the file type. And what I was finding is that through the process of sync, I'm obviously sending up a copy to a vault and then it's synchronizing down. It was triggering that. At least I think this is what's going on. I was like, it's triggering it, it's renaming the file, it was converting it to a WebP, and therefore breaking everything. So I've come to the conclusion that I need to turn that plugin off if I'm going to use Obsidian Sync for now. Okay, and we did some testing with the community earlier. We were using Obsidian Sync to do collaborative world building, and we had a similar problem there, and I definitely think this is the cause of it. So recommendation for now, guys, is if you're using the Image Converter plugin and you want to use Obsidian Sync, look, I do recommend you turn that off, all right, because it just causes issues with the naming and the triggering of it. So yeah, just turn it off. So with that said, we are now at least 10 hours, maybe 12 hours later than when I started this video. But we're going to jump in. It's been a day. I'll tell you what, it's been a day. We're going to jump in and show you how Obsidian Sync works. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to create a note. All right, new note. In that note, I'm going to have a heading. That's a tag. And then underneath that, we're going to have some content. All right, and then what should happen? Where did I put my note? This is a good question. It's in Lampeter. It's under here. I'm going to put that just there. There we go. All right, so my new note is here. I've put a heading, I've put a content, and if you go over to my mobile, you'll see that it's actually already here. All right, so the sync from PC to mobile happened without me even noticing that it was happening. All right, now if I create some content on my mobile phone, all right, there we go. It now synchronizes over. I'll fix the spelling error on my PC. So I've gone from mobile now to PC. You can see that's just synchronized and off it goes. So, all right, that's working pretty lovely. We're just going to grab an image now. I'm going to grab a book. Bestiary book, there we go, cover, look at that. Alright, so as you can see, the synchronization works really well, guys. It literally, like, it's not happening completely real time, right? There's a little bit of a delay. And what I've noticed, oh, hang on, we'll do it up here. This is the cat in the hat who sat on the mat. Alright, so I picked it up. Let's see what happens. If we keep typing, but maybe a bit slower. Oh, it's keeping up with me. What I've found is that sometimes it's got like a 3-second tick or a 5-second tick in it. Sometimes you'll see half a sentence or half a line come in, and then after that next 5-second tick, it ticks in again and it triggers over. So your experience may differ on how fluidly it changes, but I think the point of this is that Obsidian Sync is not meant to be used in real time between two devices, right? What I'm doing here is rather unique. This is the cat in the hat. There we go. Just my brain's like, you've got an error, fix it. But you know, you wouldn't usually do this, right? You wouldn't go two devices sitting right next to each other working in real time. Chances are you're going to get on the bus, you're going to grab your mobile phone, you're going to sit down and you're going to type some notes, and then that note's going to synchronize up, right? And then by the time you get home, it's synchronized with your PC. You might sit down, do some work on your PC. You might then go watch some TV with the wife or your partner, and you might sit there on your mobile phone while you're watching Love Actually or something, right? And you're like, oh yeah, tick, 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 doing some more notes. In that method there, the synchronization is going to work fluidly, I think, right? Because this only takes a couple of seconds to synchronize. So it gives you that time for that to occur and the synchronization to go both ways. All right, so I think sync works absolutely lovely. There are some complexities, all right, and I think we should just talk about that next. All right, so let's just talk quickly about complexities. And complexities, what I mean is things that don't sync so well, okay? Now, as TTRPG players, we tend to play around with complex stuff, all right? I would say as a community, we push this tool as far as we can possibly push it, and some of our plugins are like out of the box just doing crazy stuff. All right, now some of those things are achieved by doing things that are not saved in your note. You're like, what are you talking about, Josh? So let's just go Show in System Explorer. We're just going to have a look at my vault, right? In my vault, I have a .obsidian folder. In there I have a plugins folder. In that I have all the plugins, right, that I have installed, and I think one that a lot of us use is Leaflet. I always struggle to find it. There it is. In Leaflet, we have a data.json file, all right? And what a lot of people probably don't ever actually figure out is when you're creating an Obsidian leaflet map, it's actually storing the data in the data.json file, all right? And it's putting your pins in here, right? This is how it saves it, and this is how it knows where to save things. Now, the problem with that is that the way Obsidian works currently, and at least the way the plugins work, is that the maps, the pins that you're making on the maps are actually stored in the computer's memory, all right? And then when you leave the note, that is storing what is in memory in the data.json file. All right, so why does this matter? You're like, Josh, I don't know what you're talking about. Let's have a look at Lampeter City, okay? And we're just going to add an encounter to that big round building there, all right? If I now come over here, and I actually don't even think this will work. I'm not 100% sure that this plugin will work, but let's have a look. Lampeter City. Can we do reading view? No, I don't think this will work on mobile, actually. We might just have to talk about this. Because I don't think Leaflet works on a mobile device. Let me just check. Community plugins. What community plugins do I actually have? Oh, this is the question. Alright, so I don't have Leaflet. So let's just go through, actually. We're just going to install Leaflet very quickly. There we go. We'll do the install. We'll do the enable. Alright, so now Leaflet's functional. And if we go to Lampeter City, oh, I'm not good with the mobile. And we are in reading view, so let's change notes. We go to the Noble District, the Lucky Grown Inn. Oh, there we go, it does work. Ha ha ha. Here we go. Alright, notice that we're not getting any pins. Alright, so over here we have the Lucky Grown Inn. Over here we do not have the Lucky Grown Inn. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to come in here and check the sync settings. Remember before we were looking at whether or not we had all of those options enabled? So here we go. Settings, appearance settings, hotkeys, plugin lists, all the things. Alright, I've synchronized everything. I'm going to synchronize other file types. Cool. And it says, I think I've got to restart Obsidian now. Alright, we're back. We have reset it. That's not what I expected. Alright, so I've resynced it. It's actually synced the things back over. I'm going to now create a new one and just see how long it takes, or if it synchronizes over. Because usually it's what, 3 seconds, 5 seconds. So usually by now it would have synchronized. Let's just have a look at the activity log. Alright, you can see it has synchronized a change to the data.json file. Alright, but let's just open this up. We're going to change notes. Oh, I really wish. Alright, it's still not there. Alright, notice that it still hasn't adjusted. So what happens if we shut it down on this end and then reopen it on this end? And then on this end we're going to change notes and change back. We still don't have that pin. Alright, and this is what I was kind of looking to show, right? The fact that it saves those pins externally in the data.json file. Now, what that effectively means is when I leave this note, it sends that new pin information, or the pin information, to the data.json file. Alright, which means that it's overriding the data.json file. It's overriding the pins that are there. On this same note over here, if I was to exit this note, it now saves that data.json file to the data.json file, right? And then syncs that up. So you're making a change on one end, right? And you're exiting the note and it's saving to the Obsidian Sync. And then on the other note, if you've got that note open, it's not going to work. Now you watch this though. If I actually open up the lucky grain in on here, all right, now we've got the star. We're just going to move the star just into the Palace Gardens. All right. Now I'm going to leave this note. All right, so I've left it. Now I'm going to come over to here and we're going to open up the city. And we're going to have a look. Oh, didn't work. Now this is interesting. All right, we're in the wound. We're going to go to the city. We can see this here. We're going to move it. Then we're going to exit that. And I've count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And if we hit that there and come down and have a look at view. Alright, the sync has occurred. It's picked up a change to the data.json file, which means technically over on this side here, and I'm just talking to myself here, guys. If we go sync and we have a look at sync activity, the data.json file has come through as well. Alright, so technically, I think we should now have the latest. Do we? No, we still don't. Alright, so as you can see, right, it's fighting with each other. Alright, it's not working as intended. Now, there is a bit of a workaround here that we did find for Obsidian Leaflet specifically. Alright, and that is to actually put your pins in, alright, and then right click that pin and convert to code block. What does that do? If we actually, see that? If we actually go into the code, we can now see that that city's been added as a marker in the actual code, okay? And you can see that that over this side has now added. If I do the same thing here, I'm going to put an encounter in, drag it where I want, right click and go convert to code block. Over here we should see that same thing pick up. I don't know how quickly. Did that work? That's the question. I've never tried the convert to code on a mobile phone. Alright, it's got an encounter marker, yeah, so it's added it in. say, oh, there it is, right? So it takes a bit more time, but you're saving it to the note, right? And that's the important thing. So when it's in the note, it's kind of like, it's just like text, right? It knows how to convert those two things back and forth. So if you are going to use Obsidian Leaflet, I do recommend this. And I'm quite sure that there's going to be other plugins, specifically anything created by Javelin. Love you, Javelin, but he's got a method, right, where he uses data.json files. And that external method is known to have issues. I've heard that the Obsidian dev team do have some fixes in the pipeline that are almost ready, I've heard. So that's exciting, where they're actually going to make the plugin settings actually synchronize more freely. So this might not be a problem for too much longer in the future. But anyway, I thought I would share that because that's one of the intricacies that we discovered that can potentially cause you an issue. And obviously you don't want to be losing your pins, right, if you're synchronizing backwards and forth. So therefore, right click, convert to code block is a really good way to save those. So anyway, hope that helps. Alright, anyway guys, that's another Obsidian video. That's been how to use Obsidian Sync. We walked through how to install it on your PC, how to install it on a mobile device, how to actually synchronize notes together. We worked through one of the issues that we found with one of the TTRPG plugins, the Obsidian Leaflet plugin, so hopefully that's been useful for you. If you are enjoying this content, please do like and subscribe, and feel free to jump into obsidianTTRPGtutorials.com. That's where I keep all of my content. I have reworked the menu system, so hopefully people find it a little bit less blingy. It's a bit more modern. We've got buttons here now for the Obsidian TTRPG community, so jump in here. The official Discord is a fantastic resource if you're looking for any help for stuff that is not related to TTRPGs. We've got the link to the Patreons here if you'd like to support me, right? Cost of a coffee if you want to say thanks, right? Like, that's all I ask. But outside of that, everything is free, guys. Like, jump in here. I really just love seeing you guys work the tool. Learn how to push it further than it's designed to go. Watch some of the craziness that some of you people are trying to figure out. I saw a math equation today that just blew my mind, like something about a goblin encounter or a kobold encounter with like a mathematical equation. I was like, made my head hurt, but I love watching what you guys do, and it's just always blows me away how we're all different, right? We all prep in different ways. We all have different needs, which is really quite interesting. But anyway, outside of that, I want to say a huge thanks to all of my supporters, a huge thanks to all of you in the community for doing what you do. Hope you have a great day, and I'll speak to you on the socials. Enjoy.